So, motivation. What an interesting topic. Kind of. It's almost as if no originality went into this presentation. It's almost as if people have already talked about motivation and have given motivational speeches on this TEDx platform. And I am 100% sure and certain that I will be exact copies of them. Okay, I won't do anything original here. So you might as well turn it off, right? Wrong. I do have some very pretty interesting information for you. So without further ado, let's get started. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be your host for the next bit of time. My name is Bishal Sarker, and today I will be going over motivation. Specifically, I'll be going over what motivation actually is, where motivation comes from, why motivation comes to the places that it does, how motivation keeps the wheel of our life turning, and at the end, you always gotta end it off with a motivational speech. So, motivation. Where do you even begin? I mean, how do you even start begin to define the term? Well, how about we go to our very good old friend, the Google Dictionary. According to it, motivation is the general willingness or desire of someone to do something. Interesting. It's not a bad definition. But of course, you don't have to actually agree with the definition, right? But here's the thing. Whether it be you or your friend or some random person halfway around the world, it doesn't really matter, your very specific definitions or perspectives, or you actually disagreeing with other people on the definition of motivation. Because the essence of motivation really doesn't change, even if the definitions of motivation may change. Because at the end of the day, motivation is just a mechanism that makes us do things. And to understand this mechanism, actually understand it, we will need to see it in application. We need to see it in work. We need to see it do something. So let's do that. Let's conjure up some sort of a situation. Let's say you, dear viewer, are doing a job. Well, a lot of you can relate to that, of course, your standard 9 to 5 job. But here's the thing. You are working really, really hard, even harder than you usually work, because you are going for a promotion. Now, naturally, the question to ask here would be, but why? Like, why are you even going for this promotion? What good will it do to you? Well, let's think of some reasons then. Maybe it's because you want to get the approval of your dear colleagues and peers. Or maybe you're just looking forward to that bigger paycheck you're gonna get that's gonna come along with the promotion. And at this point, some people might say, oh, well, found my motivation, that's it, that's all good to go. But that's not where the story ends, actually. Motivation isn't exactly that. It's a bit more deeper, grander, if you will. These would be more like goals or milestones, right? So, because at the end of the day, you can just say, why again? Why even want the approval of your peers and colleagues? Why even go for that bigger paycheck that's going to come along with your promotion? For the sake of this presentation, let's go along with the latter option. And what we end up with is that with that money that you're getting from that paycheck, maybe you're going to buy a car with that. Maybe you're going to buy a house. Maybe you have a family and you're going to have a much better time caring for them if you get that bigger paycheck. And then after that, guess what you can do? You can say, why again? Why buy the car? Why buy the house? Why care for your family in the first place? And that's where you find your motivation, the foundational reason behind your decision making. See, in this why train, you can keep going for a long, long time, my friend. But some people actually find that their train only ends after a couple of stops. They only go down a couple of layers and that's it. And they might be like, oh snap, I am bad at finding my motivations. It's not exactly that. You have found your motivation, my friend. As long as the reason that you have conjured applies to all of your decision making, all of the decisions you take in your daily life, you take at school, you take at home, you take at work. Foundational reason, if you find that, that is a motivation. It doesn't matter how many layers you go. But if the reason that you find only applies to one path of decision making, say that reason only applies to school, but it doesn't really apply to home, then it becomes more of a goal, less of a motivation. And now, I guess we can now move on to how motivation actually affects our lives. One of the main ways that it actually does that is through a recursive effect between two actions. Here's how it goes. You get the motivation to do something. Remember the risk and reward we talked about only a couple of minutes ago? This comes into play right again. You get the motivation to put in the risk, you take the action, make the decision, and if it goes right, if it all goes right, you get the reward back. Guess what happens? Your motivation increases because you got a reward out of it. And that, in turn, makes you more excited or more wanting to do the action in question. Hopefully you get the reward back again, and as you can see, it's a really, really cool cycle, right? But there's one fatal flaw with this cycle. And for that, we will need to look towards an unlikely source. Cricket. See, your host here really likes cricket because, well, I am from Bangladesh and my friends really, really, really love playing cricket. So, those things, I registered them, took them in, accepted them, made a motivation out of it. You know, I was motivated by my friends to play cricket. I was motivated by my nationality to play cricket. But see, here's the thing. A lot of people, they might not have all these introductory motivatory factors, right? Because I was from Bangladesh. A lot of people might not have come from Bangladesh. Well, what if you're from the United States? What if you're from Norway? And what if your friends don't play cricket? What if you didn't even know about cricket and you found out about it yourself? See, the point I'm trying to get to is that how do you take that first step? How do you perform the first iteration of the action without having the motivation in the first place? Because only after doing that action and only after getting back that reward will you actually get some motivation at the beginning to keep going with it, right? So how do you get that first action? And for that, we can look towards teachers. See, now I'm gonna try to give you some advice, but little spoiler alert, it's not advice. You've actually heard this 1,000 times. Don't be afraid, do your thing. Just go for it, give it a shot. Because here's the thing, surveys have actually found out that it works. It's not hollow wisdom. It's not just people egging you on to do something that you don't really want to do. So, to end things off, the motivational speech that I promised you all that time ago. You might be thinking, what's this guy up to? Why isn't he telling me the secret to motivation so I can collect it like water from a well? Or I can collect it like a paycheck. Well, here's the thing, folks. You can start to get motivation for yourself instead of trying to look towards other things. In order for motivation to come to you, you can make it come to yourself. See, here's a little trick you can do. You can think of an object or a person that is really, really endearing to you. And you can think that if you don't do your jobs in time, you will lose that person or that object in question. if you use this trick, what it basically does is that it exposes you to motivation even if you don't want to get yourself exposed to motivation. And when you do that, that's when the entire world can open up to you. And that will be it for me. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk.